If a season of ministry has changed and you feel stuck asking what's next, I believe this video is for you. I know because I've lived it. I spent 18 years in pastoral ministry and I'm familiar with the weight and the disorientation when one chapter comes to an end. And I also know that clarity is possible. You may even wonder if stepping away means you've lost your calling. A season of transition doesn't cancel God's call. Sometimes it's the ground where new life can begin and grow. In this training, you'll see why your purpose isn't gone. You may just have a hard time seeing it, and we're going to talk about how to uncover it step by step. Transition can feel crushing. Things like your identity seem to be tangled up in things like a title, and then there's the isolation and loneliness, or fear that your best days are behind you. Shame can even creep in. Maybe you feel like you've let God or someone else down. And sometimes it's not just fear. It's the ache of feeling irrelevant, forgotten, or like all of those years of ministry investment may not count or be worth anything. Think of it like this. If you've ever had kids or you can remember being one, you probably know the experience of toys going missing. Not because they were thrown away, but because they got misplaced. When my kids were younger, they would come to me and say things like, "Dad, I can't find this toy." And it's not that the toy just went away or vanished. It was usually buried in the back of a closet or shoved under a couch cushion. What if the same is possible concerning your gifts? They're there. They've been there this whole time. But they might be covered up by things like fear, busyness, or doubt. It's not that what you have to offer or the gifts inside of you are gone. They may just be covered up by grief, exhaustion, or the pace of survival. And once you begin to see that, you can start uncovering what God has already placed inside of you. The thing is, for most of us, calling is understood as like this lightning bolt moment in time, like a title, a position, or a particular context. But what if a title, position, or context changes? What happens to your calling? What do you do with it? I believe calling is momentum. It's not just this moment in time. It's something that can develop as you keep showing up with faith and obedience. For example, consider the Apostle Peter. He follows Jesus, he walks on water, he gets sent out, he preaches on the day of Pentecost, and then he writes letters. Or the Apostle Paul. He has this radical encounter and becomes a Jesus follower. Then he spends time in Jerusalem, delivering offerings back and forth. Then his missionary journeys. Then he writes letters, and then at the end of his life, he stands before governors and kings. Or what about Philip? He follows Jesus. He becomes one of the 7. He goes to Samaria. He shares with the Ethiopian. And then it seems he lives this life in Caesarea, raising 4 virgin daughters. At what point were these individuals in their calling? I believe the answer is all of it, the entire time. Their calling wasn't tied to one moment. It grew as they obeyed in each season. It's not waiting for the perfect opportunity or keeping it confined to a particular position. It's saying yes right where you are. If you're waiting for a title or place to validate you, you may be waiting for a very long time, because development happens when you start right now. When you confine calling to things like a pulpit or position, you might unintentionally sideline your impact if those things are gone. That belief can lead us to paralysis and shame, but it doesn't have to keep you stuck. That's why I say that calling is not a static point you wait to find, it's momentum. It grows as you keep saying yes to the next step that God places in front of you. But momentum alone isn't enough, because movement without direction will just wear you out. That's why clarity matters, and that's where the REV Triad comes in. Before I get to that, if what I'm sharing with you so far is resonating, then join me live inside a webinar that I host called Where Are You Called Next? We'll go deeper into how to build that momentum in your own season of transition. Comment align for more details or register at the link in the description. When I talk to pastors and leaders who feel stuck in transition, one of the most common reasons is that they feel like clarity is missing. It's not because they lack calling, but they need help seeing things from a different perspective. And one way to help bring clarity is through the REV Triad. So let me break down each aspect section by section. First is resources. And these are the practical support that is available to you. Things like time, your finances, and habits of discipline that give you capacity to actually move forward. And then also your experience. Your experience is the toolbox that you've built over years of ministry and life skills, relationships, and the wisdom that you've gained along the way. And then vision. Vision is your sense of direction, and it's shaped by your values, your goals, the picture of where you see God is leading you next. And so it's important that you are assessing these things congruently and together, because what happens if one area is disregarded or lagging? Well, if you have vision and experience but thin resources, you'll end up with disappointment. You know what you want to do and what you're capable to do. You have the skills, but you may not have the margin or resources to make it real. Or if you have experiences and resources but no clear vision, you end up stuck. You stay busy and you're capable, but you don't know where you're heading next. And so your wheels keep spinning. And if you have vision and resources but lack the experience, you might be unprepared. You've got a plan and some margin, but you don't have the repetitions yet to sustain it or to grow it. The beauty of paying attention to these three areas, resources, experience, and vision, is that you don't have to be perfect in all of them at once. The goal is to avoid letting one area lag so far behind that it keeps you stuck. And the good news is you have room to flex. Once you see where the gap is, you can adjust and address these areas and begin taking your next step with confidence. Even when you've identified the gap, there's one more shift to make, because motivation alone will not carry you. Motivation is a tricky thing because it comes and goes. One day you're fired up and the next day you're exhausted, discouraged, or second guessing everything. And if you've been in ministry, you probably know that cycle well. Motivation is like fuel in the tank and it burns fast. But mission is different. Mission can pull you through when motivation is lacking. Let me share a story about a man named Dashrath Manji. He's known as the Mountain Man of India. When his wife died because she couldn't get medical care in time, he resolved that no one else in his village should suffer the same fate. With nothing but a hammer and chisel, he started carving a road through solid rock. For 22 years, people mocked him, called him a lunatic, but he kept going. When he finally finished, he had cut a road that shortened the trip to the nearest hospital by 50 miles. Not because of motivation, but because he was driven by a mission. That's the kind of thing that can carry you forward. Mission isn't just grit, it's anchored in God's heart. And when your calling is tied to mission, you don't need to wait for the perfect conditions. You can start moving forward now, right where you are. Hey, if what I've shared resonates, then join me live inside Where Are You Called Next? We will go deeper into how to build momentum in your own season of transition. It's a space to dig beneath the surface, to help uncover your purpose, and to gain tools that will help you step forward with clarity and confidence. So here's your next step. Register for the next live session using the link in the description. Come join me. This is your chance to create your future from things like identity instead of pressure, and finally move forward with clarity, conviction, and confidence.